be substantially less than the increases for the city. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 12 KERN.
To the rest, well, in a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, or however you may be viewing. For those subscribing on YouTube, this is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we're streaming live at kernradio.com. We got another busy show. As my last week before a little deserved but much needed vacation approaches. Lots going on. The nation is talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci, and not in a way that apparently he loved while he was in the spotlight. As we talked about yesterday, Senator Rand Paul from the Commonwealth of Kentucky unloaded about 1,100 pages of the guy's diary. How he got a hold of that is anybody's guess. But the central point that we'll get to in just a moment is he telling the truth? Did he tell us one thing while he believed another privately? We'll get into that in just a second. And the president is promising a massive hit on the Iranians after they strike us again in Jordan. This was a surprise attack. The president is not happy, and why he's telegraphing that we're going to hit them soon, I don't understand, but that's on the agenda. Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne will join us at the bottom of the hour from Adaptive Networks. Adaptive Networks, of course, provide all our IT needs, as it should for you if you're a serious business person concerned about your IT. We've had problems with our IT for years, and we could not be happier with what these people do in terms of their customer service and their reliability and their just overall competence. I told you they just got back from a trip in New York where they were requested by a large firm there, a little Bakersfield company being requested to New York City. We'll talk with them at the bottom of the hour. Patrick Clancy testified today in the trial of his wife, who is alleged to have killed her 3 children. I would not suggest, I don't know, it's very, the audio we have is very disturbing. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Burdick?
Descriptive.
Very descriptive and very disturbing of how she murdered her 3 children by taking an exercise band and choking them all 3 to death. You'll hear from the father in this. The only defense is postpartum psychosis, which is completely different from postpartum depression. We'll delve into that. We have more information on the Estrada case, the man that is accused of stabbing his wife in front of his children about back May of, I think it was May of last year. We'll talk about that a little bit. And Jeff Flores is going to join us. Supervisor Flores is going to join us at 5 o'clock and talk about the Social Policy Institute's review. Remember, we were paying them $411,000, and they came back with a report. We talked about it earlier in the week. We'll get Mr. Flores' opinion on that. The Dodgers lost a close one last night to the Seattle Mariners. You see the ball game at all?
I did not.
I hate to say this out loud. Father Time gets us all, but Mookie Betts is becoming a liability. And not to the point, we can't get rid of him. That's why I hate these long-term contracts. And I'm not suggesting we get rid of him, but I am suggesting we can't treat him like he's Mookie Betts. At some point, we have to start treating him like a 240 hitter, only because he's a 240 hitter. And we were down 7-5. I screwed up. You know, I watched the game on my terms, and I screwed up and went to the channel instead of my list. And I popped up in the 7th inning. I see the score. I'm like, damn, it's 5-5. So I'm watching the rest of the game, and I see Shohei hit a leadoff home run. I didn't get to see that because I turned on the game instead of my DVR. You know what I'm saying? So the recording, I actually got the game live. It was already 5-5. Then we go down 7-5, and then we make this 9th inning comeback. And with runners on the corner and 2 outs, Mookie rolls into a ground ball to shortstop with nobody in right field, in the infield. They had shifted. And I thought that was, what is the rule on the shifting? I'm asking you.
That's what I'm trying to remember. I know that the player on each side of the second base can't shift over anymore.
The shortstop and the third baseman have to be on the same side.
Right.
But the second baseman can be like up the middle, though, almost. I think he might have been shaded to the right, but he was completely, there was just a gargantuan hole there.
Right.
And I'm just like, Mookie, a bunt past the pitcher would have tied the game. If you're hitting 240, just bunt it past the pitcher, for God's sakes. I don't know. And what else is going on? That's just about it. More info on that. The Van Alstynes, Mr. Clancy, and whatever else you guys want to talk about. 842-5376, 842-KERM. But we do begin with Dr. Fauci taking the 5th 111 times. Now, I know it's not fair, but it's human nature. And it's not fair. It's what the Constitution was written for. It's why the Founding Fathers placed this in here, self-incrimination. But it just seems to just about everybody that whenever someone takes the Fifth Amendment, and maybe this is because we all grew up watching mobsters taking the Fifth Amendment, watching Jimmy Hoffa and some of these well-known gangsters of the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, right when television was coming in. And these guys would just come in and take the Fifth Amendment. And maybe that's why we assume that anybody that takes the Fifth is hiding something. And if you're asking, why is he taking the Fifth when Joe Biden gave him a preemptive pardon, it doesn't apply to perjury and to what he's saying to the Senate. He could still be found guilty of perjury. And Rand Paul is so obsessed with this guy that they're still thinking about filing contempt of Congress charges. Now, that's not a law, so it would not have to go to the Senate. What kind of teeth it would have is the question that I think Teresa Golden would have to answer for us, what the Department of Justice would do with that. It would be more of a resolution. But the issue is clearly, did this thing start in the lab? And what did Fauci believe, and when did he believe it? Because there is audio of Fauci back in June of 2022 where he says this.
Whether or not this had to do with a virus that was isolated out in the environment and that came into a lab and then had what most people refer to as a lab leak, I believe that is less likely that that's the case, but I also believe we need to keep an open mind.
Well, that's not what he wrote privately, and I did not bring the notes of what he said privately. God dang it. I had quotes from what he said privately on a different sheet of paper, and I did not bring it, but it was certainly different. I do have one quote that I did write down from Fauci where he said, the people on the phone, because remember, they put together a consortium of global scientists. And the crux of the matter, what Rand Paul is saying is that Fauci was telling us that this couldn't have come from a lab, as he just did there. Let's hear one more from Anthony Fauci.
Evidence from the virology community points strongly towards a natural occurrence.
Well, that's not what he was saying privately, and that's why Rand Paul went after his diary. He wrote at one point in January of 31 of 2020, the people on the phone, meaning this consortium of scientists, felt that the mutations could not have occurred naturally. Let me read that again. People on the phone felt that the mutations could not have occurred naturally. They bring up the possibility that this could have been deliberately inserted and either accidentally released or deliberately released. The rest felt that deliberate insertion was possible. He's caught lying. He's caught lying. And at the time, there was no bigger defender of Dr. Fauci than Ralph Bailey. And I don't have a problem with Dr. Fauci making errors because there were many errors. The lockdowns, the masks may have even been a problem. But again, let's not forget where we are or where we were. Excuse me. Let's not forget where we were. We were in a cloud. No one really knew what was going on. All we knew is people were dying. I don't have a problem with them misdiagnosing or getting it wrong. I do have a problem, however, with somebody who is so obsessed with himself and so in love with himself. That's another part that's pissing everybody off, that in this diary he talks about his fame and how I'm clearly the most famous person in America, clearly one of the most recognizable, and blah, 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 blah. And he was kind of digging this. He was kind of digging it. And in the meantime, you were getting up on that press room stage and telling us one thing and then privately saying another. That's jailable. This was a global pandemic, and you believe something quietly in your home, and yet you'd go to the White House every day and tell us lies? No. I don't give a damn how old he is. This guy should go to jail. This is perjury. Perjury at the highest level, where people were watching their parents and grandparents and die and couldn't be with them. My sister died during COVID. My mother still believes it was COVID. It was technically ruled a heart attack, but why do I bring it up? Because there was no funeral for my sister. We had no service for my sister. It was right at the height, the very beginning. I remember this. It was the night I was out with a friend of mine and got a phone call from my mom, and I ignored it. I said, I'll talk to her later. She called again a minute later, and I said, I better take this, and discovered out on a date that my sister had died. And I remembered that because earlier that night, we had just learned that the NCAA was shutting down March Madness. And so even for those of us whose loved ones died during this period, and it had nothing to do with COVID, perhaps, let's say it didn't. My mother's wrong, and it was truly a heart attack. She followed in her father's footsteps. There was no service for my sister. And that still aches at my mother. It still bothers me. And why? Because we were listening to Dr. Fauci. And at minimum, we know he was lying. He was out and out lying. And why? Because he and other scientists were invested in this Wuhan lab. So not only do we have a lie, but we have a motive for the lie. Money. How many times have you heard me quote my father? 8 questions out of 10 can be answered with the word money. Why would he do something like this? Why would he keep this from us? Why would he say, oh, it was just this wet market and this bats and all kind of natural things, when in fact they all, almost a consensus of these scientists, believed that it came from the lab, and we all believed it came from the lab. I don't know about how you all stood at the time, but I was like, there's no way in the world this thing just popped up. No way in the world, particularly coming out of China. And the fact that it was not naturally produced is one of the reasons it spread so quickly. And that was one of the issues, because right from the get-go, they shut down China and they were like, oh, it's not going to spread, it's not going to spread. And then all of a sudden, the Italians were dying. And that was it. That was the beginning of the end. Once it spread to Italy, that was the beginning of the end, and it was all over. Turn out the lights. And all, perhaps, we'll never know, but perhaps based on the lie of Dr. Anthony Fauci. So I am all in favor of Rand Paul going after this guy. Again, it's not the issue I had with, hey, we got this wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have had so much shutdowns. But the fact of the matter is, and it's on my other notes, I apologize, he was telling officials behind the scenes that they should shut down. So this whole little private affair that he was having, which did not correlate with what he was telling us, is criminal. Is criminal. Science, just the same theme that I've been talking about in war. You got to play it straight. You got to play it straight. It's war. Well, the same thing applies to global pandemics. Come on, Anthony. You got to play it straight. And the only reason one can conclude that a scientist would lie is money. And he was invested in that lab. And the last thing he wanted to do, apparently, was taint that Wuhan lab in China. Shame on you. Somebody put the claps on this guy and send his ass to jail. Take a quick time out. When we come back, Donald Trump says he's pissed and we're going to F him up. That's a quote. I'm not just getting inappropriate. That's a quote. I'll read it to you when we come back of what I can. And then the folks that provide our IT, Adaptive Networks, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne will join us. We'll get into the grisly murder of 3 young babies by their allegedly psychotic mother. You'll hear from the father who was running an errand. She sent him on a wild goose chase, the mother did. And when he called back to find out, she wanted kind of stool softeners for the baby. And when he called from the drugstore, what kind do you want? She didn't answer. He got panicky. He came back to the house. And his life would never be the same ever again. And then Supervisor Jeff Flores coming up in the 5. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1, AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
The state of California needs money because of the way we've been spending our Medicare money. They decided that we need to talk to you guys about this. How about if we withhold $867 million from you? Will that get your attention? You now have the Trump administration, and they have greater expectations of you. So if you can't deliver, they ain't going to deliver either.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
I'm John Busby with Team Busby Real Estate. And I'm Jonathan Busby with Team Busby Real Estate. We just wanted to talk with you about what we do as a team. We do a great job for our clients. Some of the things that we do is when we represent sellers, we don't just put the transaction together. We do our homework and we check their FICO score, source of funds, where the money's coming from, and the job stability. Because what we don't want is to get you into an escrow and the escrow falls out because we didn't do our homework.
With any sort of real estate need that you have, we can accommodate, whether it's residential, commercial, land, or multi-units. We have experience in all and can help you to a successful close.
The background that we have is I was a lender for 5 years. And so I learned quite a bit as far as how to keep a transaction together. We don't just put it together and hope that it closes escrow. Nothing's 100%, but we do stack it in your favor.
With any needs or questions with real estate, give us a call at 661-410-7355 or visit our website at www.teambusby.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist. I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. and happy 50th.
Before you hit the road for the holidays, make sure your car is ready for the journey. Kern Oil Change keeps your engine running smooth and your family safe. No appointments needed. Just drive in and their fast, friendly team will get you back on the road in minutes. Don't wait till you're stuck on the side of the road. Stop by Kern Oil Change today and travel with confidence this holiday season. Kern Oil Change has 2 locations to serve you, 3706 Coffee Road and 5651 Auburn Street. Kern Oil Change is open 7 days a week. Follow us on Instagram for additional savings.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
So I finally got some good news today because I got nothing but bad news all day long.
Okay.
I'm having some issues with current community college district. My rent just went up reasonably, so I'm not complaining because I pay for a 2-bedroom less than what most people pay for a 1-bedroom, to be honest with you. So I take that in stride. But the thing with KCCD is just so odd. I just don't understand what's going on. And there's some good news from LA. It wasn't really good. But the good news is Philly seems doable.
Nice.
Because it wasn't looking doable at $427 a night.
Right.
But I was looking in Philadelphia. And actually, Philadelphia is nowhere near a Lehigh Country Club. It's about a 30, 40-minute drive. So I don't want to be in Philadelphia. I certainly hope Nick takes me to Philadelphia. I hope he certainly takes me to dinner somewhere in Philadelphia, but I'm not going to stay in Philadelphia. That was the issue. So I'm looking to stay in Allentown, which is like $150, $160 a night, which is much more reasonable, and it's close to the golf course. So now I'm thinking of staying maybe even an extra night, maybe leaving Sunday and coming back Thursday.
Okay.
Since I'm not spending $450 a night to stay in downtown Philadelphia.
Did you call Nick for this?
I have not. No, who do you think I went to?
I figured it was either Rand Isler or Nick.
I had to go to my what do we call him?
Travel agent.
My travel agent. Yes, hooked the brother up. Allentown, which is close to the golf course anyway. I don't want to be 45 minutes from the damn golf course. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. The president has promised that we are going to hit the Iranians hard after a surprise attack that hit that base in Jordan, that base that killed 3 of our soldiers, including a 19-year-old girl who, Isabella Gonzalez, who was in high school literally a year ago. She was graduated from high school just 1 year ago. Now she's no longer with us. And this is disturbing because this comes in the wake of a Saudi Arabia attack on the Iranians after the Iranians attacked the Saudi Arabian oil field. And I was trying to make a conclusion, is this a good thing or a bad thing that this thing is escalating? Now, the master of the obvious answers, it's a bad thing. Anytime a war escalates, it's a bad thing. This thing could grow out of control and we'd have no idea where we're going to be in 2 or 3 months. But in some sense, I think it is a good thing that we've got a common bond now with some of those Gulf states, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and UAE, that are being hit. And I've always said from the get-go, one of the biggest mistakes the Iranians have made is that they've made enemies out of these people and made them, by proxy, allies of ours. War is always like this, that it's a thin line between what is good and what is bad. An expansion of this thing could be good, again, for the reasons that I just noted. But again, typically, an expansion of any kind of military conflict, it's not a very good thing and not something that you want to see. A little bit later in the program, we will hear from the president on this issue. Oh, I don't have anything on the president, do I? No, I lied to you. I don't have anything on the president. But later we will talk about the triple murder of the small children. You'll hear from the father, Patrick Clancy, and the local murder trial that's back underway, the Estrada case. Father who's alleged to have interrupted his son's graduation party and allegedly killed his wife, estranged wife, right in front of his own children. That's all coming up. But first, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, owner-operators, Adaptive Networks. They join us next. Don't go anywhere. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live on radio.com.
Don Keith Peters in Washington. The Federal Reserve left its key interest rate unchanged Wednesday despite persistently high inflation and a spike in energy prices caused by the Iran war. The Fed's rate setting committee reached the 9-3 decision after 2 days of deliberations, marking the fifth straight meeting at which the benchmark rate was kept at around 3.6%. Iran has launched a barrage of missiles at American forces in the Middle East. The U.S., meanwhile, partnered with Saudi Arabia on Wednesday to strike Iran-backed militias in neighboring Iraq, killing at least 20 fighters. Iraqi militia officials said 6 Iranian advisors were also killed in the U.S.-Saudi strikes. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 1,153 points. More details at srnnews.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management. Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN newsroom.
If you live in the Caliente area, you should be aware that the fish fire is still burning, now 37% contained, but so far it has burned 4,200 acres, says the Kern County Fire Department. You should also be aware that the evacuation orders that were in effect have been lifted. In Lamont, 29-year-old Rodrigo Garcia has been charged with grand theft, vandalism, and possession of stolen copper wire after Kern County deputies say they caught him at Lopez Recycling and Wrecking trying to get rid of some copper wire that they say had been stolen from a farm company in Lamont. In Monterey County, 40-year-old Marcus B. is charged in the vandalism and destruction of several flock cameras and license plate readers in the Bradley and Lockwood communities. Police there say he was caught on video. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230, KERN.
Hey, it's that man again, Ralph Bailey for Sangera Subaru. It's probably time to go on that summer trip, and what better way to travel than in a brand new Subaru? Now, if you want something sporty yet comfortable, then the choice is clear, an Outback. Plenty of room for the entire family, plus Outback gets 32 miles per gallon on the highway. And now, through July 31st, lease a 2026 Outback Premium CDT for $229 a month for 36 months and $5,017 due at signing. Every Subaru comes standard with symmetrical all-wheel drive. Offer ends July 31st. So stop by, see my good friends Damon Carlos and Osal Levy, and test drive a brand new Outback. Sangera Subaru, paving the way for a better community. 5500 Gasoline Alley Drive in the Bakersville Auto Mall.
$229 per month plus tax for 36 months. Total of lease payments, $8,869. $5,017 total due at lease signing. Includes first month payment, excludes tax, title, license, and $85 document fee. Total lease cost $13,886, excluding tax and license. TSRP $37,287. No security deposit. Lease based on 7,500 miles per year, 15 cents per mile over. Available to qualified customers through Subaru Motor Finance on approved credit. Expires July 31st, 2026. Excludes optional equipment and dealer installed accessories. VIN number TY514370.
First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday of the First Look program, the triumphant return of Dr. Corey Gonzalez, and let's be honest, it mostly means burritos, but also some form of mental health care. We will have news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
The thunder returns. Tear me apart. You've been thunderstruck. Walk down the highway, broke the limit, we hit the top. We're to Texas, and that's us again. Walk down the road, right on the yeah, bye, 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 bye. Tell me in peace. Yeah, the ladies want to try. You've been thunderstruck.
842-537-6842-KERN coming up. Got some more information thanks to our associate producer, Lisa, on the Clancy case, the triple murder, horrible, horrible case. And we'll talk about the local case, the Estrada case as well. And then coming up at 5, Supervisor Jeff Flores will join us. We'll talk about the Social Policy Institute's references for CPS. This is all in the wake of the Genesis Matter case, and I'm still not happy. We'll talk about that, and we'll sneak in a little sports and recap our top story of the day on Dr. Anthony Fauci. But as those that are watching on YouTube can tell, the Van Alstynes are live in studio. Jennifer happens to be the cute one to my left. Ryan is the bearded one to my far left. Van Alstynes, welcome back. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good.
You
Doing
think
pretty
about that?
good. Well, you know, it hit me this morning. Tomorrow's my son's last day of preschool, and he starts kindergarten a week from today. So 2 weeks from today. I know.
Are you okay?
I know.
Are you all right,
I'm
Mom?
struggling with it.
I'm fine with it. You know?
I know, of course you are.
I can't handle it.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
What is the anxiety exactly?
There is no anxiety. I know he'll do fine.
Well, then what's
I'm just like, he's growing up too fast. I want him to stay my little baby forever. Even though he's almost as tall as me, he's only 5.
Yeah. Wow. Wait till he goes to college. Good googly
I
moogly.
know.
That's going to be a sad day. I will, of course, be long gone by then, but nevertheless. What are we talking about this week?
Well, I know we talk about it a lot, but we are going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity and more, you know, what good IT looks like in terms of cybersecurity.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think, the single most important thing about IT right now with what's going on out there.
It's the biggest
Yeah, I
risk.
heard-
I mean, you hear about them. You know, you hear about something new every day. I mean, I think you may have heard it or seen about it. The whole OpenAI, pretty recent with their breaking out of containment.
No.
So OpenAI's newest model, it was tasked with, I believe it was trying to take a test. They tasked it with something, and it broke out of containment and went out and started hacking a system and just using that to go across the whole system. It was called Hugging Face. It's where there's a whole bunch of different models, but it had figured out that I guess the key for the test was there on the system. And it goes, well, the best way is to basically just break the law. Think like a college student, you know, it's been, you know, smoking dope and drinking their, you know, college career away, and is like, oh, we're just going to go in the professor's office, break in, steal the key, and we'll pass the test. And, you know, there you go.
So you saw Animal House.
That's what the AI model did. And I think everybody's just like kind of reeling from that, like, crap. Like, how are we going to keep this from happening? You know, because, you know, we're trying not to create, you know, just joke around, you know, Skynet, but you got to make sure these models aren't doing things they're not supposed to be because they're extremely powerful. So now you got, you know, AI models that are just going off the rail and decide, you know, hack some entity because they know that they've got something valuable that'll help them do whatever they're tasked with better. So now everybody's kind of talking about guardrails on, you know, all those types of things, because obviously, you know, adversaries are using those, either government adversaries, hacking group adversaries, and they are using models that don't have these restrictions on them. So it's a very interesting, you know, balance there on how this plays out, you know, into the future in the next couple of years of
frightening is what it is.
Yeah.
It can be, yeah. And we're just, you know, at the early stages of it. Like, what are the good guys going to do? You know, because they kind of make it where the good guys can't use the models without the guardrails because they can't tell the difference if you're using it for good or bad.
Right.
So just say you can't do either with it. Then you go, but the bad guys are using these models that don't have rules. They can just go host models on their own systems. The bad guys can get powerful enough systems to run, you know, models at scale. Then they can just go and attack whatever they want with them. And I think we're kind of grossly unprepared for that. A lot of businesses are grossly unprepared for it. So it's causing a lot of, you know, interest, you know, re-interest in the cybersecurity space of, you know, how we're going to defend from that and protect. And it's, you know, it's really coming down to right now of just upgrading tools. You've got to be moving your cybersecurity forward. What we did a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, businesses are going to be investing more in cybersecurity today than they were in previous years.
Yeah.
It has to happen,
Right.
or you're just going to be there caught with your pants down, and something bad's going to happen. And you're going to, we'll have the conversation like, well, we talked about it, and we, recommended these, and we said this is what you need is, adequate, and whether that is actually adequate or not. I mean, nobody really knows, but we can't just stay sitting still where we are. We know that's worse than. So we're just always trying to move forward. Cybersecurity is just always trying to move forward to a more secure posture of where we were a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, download this firewall and you're, fine. Like that's not cybersecurity anymore.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody in the industry, not here locally, but the other day, and they were saying, it's no longer, managed service providers. The name is always changing, but it's like we don't keep the lights on. It used to be you just want to keep the lights on, but now you've got somebody trying to cut the power or trying to turn the switch, and it's our job as the MSP to protect that switch, to protect that power, to make sure that the lights do stay on. So you have to be really proactive. And there were several businesses in town who recently had some cyber incidents, none of our clients, cyber incidents themselves. And we heard later, like, well, I really like the way that our MSP handled everything afterwards. And it's like, that's great, but you probably shouldn't have been in that position to begin with.
Right.
So
well, we're getting some of that. We actually got some of the details on some of them because some of this information is publicly disclosed. So you can actually find out how these attacks happened. Like, this was all part of this orchestrated attack from this group. And we know the mechanisms they use. So we can kind of reverse engineer that and figure out like how that client was vulnerable. So we actually are figuring out our other MSPs in town, other competitors. We're figuring out like where their gaps are, and where we've already closed stuff, or we're already working very diligently to keep moving that forward. We're finding those areas and seeing that there's a lot of just guys just doing what they've been doing until something bad happens. And it's like, you've got to stay in front of all these things.
Yeah.
You've got to constantly know what's happening. Hey, I'm using this type of equipment. I'm using this software. I need to know what vulnerabilities are there. I need to make sure I'm proactively taking care of those for my clients. We're finding a lot of companies just don't have the bandwidth for it. That's what they're struggling with. They're struggling with the bandwidth. So we're seeing it. We're seeing it kind of firsthand, like on the ground, of like just observing events that are happening, seeing those unfold and going, okay, let's just be smarter than this and make sure we're trying to stay 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
I like to call it the golden burrito. My brother, when he was in high school in the late 90s, worked at Taco Bell, and he won a Golden Burrito Award for putting out a fire that he started. And so I kind of liken this scenario to that. It's like, well, I'm really glad that they put out a fire, but they also started it.
Right.
So, like you kind of have to, so that's just kind of.
Who are the suspects? Are they rival companies? Are they rogue companies just trying to hijack your material and keep it hostage? Or who are these people? And why are they? What is the motivation?
Most of the time, it's threat actor groups. Their motivation is money. They make a lot. They make a lot of money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Being on the illegal side of things, and so what they're doing is they're exfiltrating data, and then charging to not post the data.
How is
extorting you for your data? Like, hey, I've stolen all your sensitive data.
Extortion.
It's extortion.
How is that legal?
It's not, but they're outside of the. I mean, then the government does go after it, but when one group goes down, 2 more pop up. It's just you're never going to stop it.
Yeah.
It's just, cybersecurity's always been this way. It's always going to be this way. You might know it's coming from Russia or China or any other, nation that you can't really do anything about. You can't go over there and just start extraditing people from these countries. And that's where they're mostly acting out of, and they're doing a lot of things to cover there. But, the governments know where it's coming from. There's not really a whole lot they can do. They can go target a group. If a group does something bad enough, the governments can go act and do things, and they have in the past. But there's just not enough capacity or bandwidth to go take. They just can't. it's not possible.
Yeah.
So it comes down to the business. You just have to accept that that's a cost of doing business. And one of the new line items is spending more money on cybersecurity. And so, what we try to do, the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, is as we're spending more money on cybersecurity, we can get creative with other things within the business. So we're looking far deeper into the business than just the keep the lights on IT type of services to try and find savings to then offset those increases for the cybersecurity, because businesses are sensitive about the bottom line.
Right.
At the end of the day, they don't want to see that number just keep going up, year in and year out. There's certain things we can't do a whole lot about, medical insurance, we see that going up every year, and we really can't do much to keep it from going up, just control how much. Cybersecurity, we started looking for more offsets. How can we offset it somewhere else? How can we modernize something, lower some costs from one area, bump some more into cybersecurity? Because if we can keep your organization protected, we can prevent you from, suffering and incurring the losses that are going to come from that. And they're pretty hefty. You don't want to have to activate your cyber insurance policy. It's there for you if you have to. We have to have it. We have to have car insurance. We have to have home insurance. But, we're going to try to make sure we don't get in car wrecks. We're going to try to make sure we don't have house fires. We're doing our due diligence with that. We have to do the same thing with the business as well.
Yeah, that is incredible. It really is. What advice are you giving to your clients at this point?
Well, we are looking at what they are currently doing with cybersecurity and making recommendations based on, 26 and having a different conversation of like, okay, these things have been successful up to this point. They will not continue to be successful a year from now, 2 years from now. Everything's just, if you stay in place, you're going to be just a bigger target than the next guy. So let's try and harden things. Let's try and do a better job than the next guy, and just improve our odds of not being a victim of these cyber criminals. So.
And I think too, investing in our own company and making sure that we're always, educating ourselves on what new technology is out there, what new threats are out there, but also what new tools are out there that we can use. So we're constantly, just evolving our own stack and our own internal controls to help our clients.
Can you stay ahead of this?
I think so. There's a lot more to be done with early detection. So if you can detect something before they actually compromise the resource. So let's say we can detect it at the network edge, the router, or the workstation, but before it gets to like the server that's hosting the files. If we can detect it early, we can learn about, what tactic is being used, and then we can take a defensive posture against that. So it's just evolving a lot, where before it was we take tools and we just set them in place and set it and forget it. And we don't do that in 2026 anymore. We're more, active on the threat hunt and seeing exactly what's going on, day to day, what recent breaches have happened, like really understanding the dynamics of all of these things. And it helps us to better build the defenses for the clients and the early detections. And we've had really good successes. We've not had anybody ransomed in 17 years in business, and our even minor cybersecurity incidents are very minimal and usually mitigated very, very quickly before they can step in and do things. Like you probably heard people getting their email hacked. That's the most common, by far, the most common. And the pathway to that is almost every single time somebody got phished. They got an email, they opened it, it took them to a Microsoft login, but it wasn't a Microsoft login. They put their credentials, and those guys are in their mailbox, in their OneDrive, doing things on behalf of the user, and they're emailing their customers, emailing their vendors, and money eventually is flying across the wire one direction to the other. That's how 90+% of security events that we're seeing are that vector. That's the most common one.
Is it not suggested that you hand out your email willy-nilly?
It's hard because
you can't operate without your email being out there.
Yeah.
But you're at the risk of any service.
It's on our business cards.
So one easy recommendation I would say for business people would be, please keep your personal email and your business email separate. Use your business email for business things and your personal email for personal things, because that alone will minimize the amount of places that your email and your credentials can be can be captured from, right? We've all heard about different sites over the years that have been compromised, and they get those credentials and they start using them. And then get a password manager. Don't just recycle the same password over, you know, my dog's name is Daisy 267 or something like that. You know, don't sit there and use that for your password on all your services, because once they get it once, they're going to use it everywhere. And if you know it's been compromised, burn that password and don't ever use it again. Because if it's compromised once, it's out there forever. It's like pictures on social media. They're there forever. Your password has been compromised. It's out there forever. It's in a list in a database, and they're using them to do attacks against Microsoft, Google, you name it. They're doing it. So that would be an easy practical advice.
Running out of time with Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, owner operators of Adaptive Networks. Final on cybersecurity.
Stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. Call Adaptive if you're not having that conversation with your current MSP and you feel like you just left where you were 2 or 3 years ago or longer, and nothing's really changed and the conversation hasn't evolved. That would be a good indication that maybe it's time to start looking.
That's why we jumped on board. Cybersecurity, customer service, reliability, et cetera, et cetera. Give them a call at 661-241-0638. Or hit them online at adaptive-net.com. Jennifer, Ryan, Van Alstyne. Thank you, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Ralph.
See you in a minute. See you. Quick time out. Not a lot of time before we get to the top of the hour. We'll check the board, see what you all are talking about. Anybody in the chat room? A couple of thoughts in there. I'll read those as well. And don't forget, Supervisor Jeff Flores is going to talk to us about the Social Policy Institute, the group from San Diego that's coming up in the wake of the death of Genesis Mata, the 8-year-old who was murdered in a local hotel. They've got some recommendations. We'll hear what the supervisor has to say about that. You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
The Ed Jiggles extravaganza that we're all going to be treated to. It's yet another way too closely connected to the DA's office, so this one's going to play out in Tulare. And that's fun for 2 reasons. Number one, we're not going to have to pay for it. And the other thing is listening to how our news guy's going to pronounce Tulare every morning. We're all going to find out together in real time. It'll be a festival.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his long-standing and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
The Colonel's cooked up a new $10 bucket of the day just for you. Monday, 24 nuggets for $10. Tuesday, 8-piece fried chicken for $10. Wednesday, 10 wings for $10. Thursday, 8 tenders for $10. Friday, 24 nuggets for, ooh, you guessed it, didn't you? $10. The $10 bucket of the day deal. Every weekday. Only at KFC. It's finger licking good.
Prices and participation vary while supplies last. Not available on third-party ordering platforms. Tax extra.
Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Looking for a fun girls' night out with a purpose? Then don't miss the VIP Vault, an exclusive after-hour shopping event benefiting Dress for Success Bakersfield. Join us Thursday, July 30th, 5 to 7:30 p.m. for an evening of shopping, sipping, and supporting a great cause. Browse incredible high-end fashion and accessories. Enjoy charcuterie, bubbly refreshments, and best of all, admission is free. Every purchase helps empower local women on their journey to workplace success. Come shop with purpose at the VIP Vault, hosted by Dress for Success Bakersfield, 1416 17th Street, or friend us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
I want to thank Jennifer Ryan-Van-Alstyne from Adaptive Networks that provide all of our IT services, as it should for you. If you're a serious businessman, call them 661-241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com. Headed into the 4 o'clock hour. What do you got on the board, Mr. Burdick?
Let's see. Just one here. It says Rand Paul exposed Fauci's diary because his diary was on a government server. How dumb. Fauci may have had a long time career, but he ruined it by soliciting awards with big money attached to them.
He absolutely did. And if he was in cahoots with the Chinese, with this lab, and covered it up because he was invested in it, he should have to go to jail. That's perjury. Particularly given the responsibility that he had and the advice that everyone agreed, at least at the outset, that this was the guy. And then, when parents started to see the impact that their kids not going to school and us being locked up and isolated started to have an impact. Like I said, my nephew damn near flunked out of high school due to having to stay home, and he wouldn't open his computer, etc. It's a tremendous responsibility that this man had. And it seemed like he was motivated for money. And I'm the first one to admit that I was absolutely wrong about him. I was a huge fan of Dr. Fauci's. He was a scientist, for God's sakes. He'd been, for 40 years, he'd been doing this. He'd been, countless presidents, different administrations, and everybody believed that this guy was playing it straight. And all the while, he was secretly telling himself and his cohorts that this thing came from the lab. And then coming us and telling us, well, no, it came from some wet area, bats, and all this nonsense that were just lies. When I saw that, I just devastation, the lives that were lost. And again, as I said at the top of the show, like if they got it wrong, if they thought that this was best and they were wrong, I'm not gonna dog them about that. I mean, we're in the unknown. That's why man fears the unknown so much. Because you don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to turn. You have no reference point. And we had no reference point for this. Yes, we've had pandemics, but nothing like this. And people were dying on contact. Older people were dying daily. Don't you remember this? I mean, even I took our own health department to task. This was before Bryn Kerrigan. And I don't remember the man's name. But you remember when they had those press conferences and we were involved, and I was the one that got them to expand because they first started. The county mishandled this incredibly poorly, and this I don't fault them because again we were in an unknown territory. But even here in the county was horribly handled, where they were having news conferences, so-called news conferences, and each reporter got one question, literally. And I forget who the CEO was back then. Great guy. I can't remember his name right now. JR is probably yelling in his office because he was really close with the guy. Really nice guy. But he called it the Ralph rule because I was the one that complained and said, look, one reporter getting one question, I don't know what you call that, but it ain't a news conference. And they had to expand that. And they weren't giving us accurate numbers. They wouldn't tell us the number of deaths. They wouldn't tell us who was in the hospital. So errors were made. But when you obfuscate, when you purposely lie for financial reasons, no, your sorry ass has to go to jail. People make errors. A lot of mistakes were made during the COVID era, but flat out lying for money motivation, no, you got to lock that guy up. I'm sorry. Quick time out, headed into the 4. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Wednesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN. 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Keith Peters in Washington. The Federal Reserve held its benchmark interest rates steady Wednesday, but left the door open to raising rates in the future if inflation remains elevated. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Kevin Warsh says markets are responding to real-time economic data, and the Fed's shift from providing clues about its next moves may be helping.
Market participants are learning to play the ball, not the referee. And market prices will continue to respond in the direction and magnitude they see fit. This is, in my view, a change for the better, and we're just getting started.
Wall Street didn't like the results today, with the Dow plunging over 1,100 points. A contentious hearing on Capitol Hill today as Dr. Anthony Fauci was the prime witness on events surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Chairman Rand Paul says Dr. Fauci owes Americans an apology for helping produce the pandemic and then covering himself.
Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself.
Fauci on Wednesday repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment and declined to answer dozens of questions from senators. Iran has launched a barrage of missiles at American forces in the Middle East. The U.S., meanwhile, partnered with Saudi Arabia on Wednesday to strike Iran-backed militias in neighboring Iraq, killing at least 20 fighters. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 1,153 points. More at townhall.com.
Imagine getting this kind of news. Karen Collins was in her 20s. She was newly married, and then her husband, Michael, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
And he told me, and I just cried because I didn't really know what the plan was.
There was another fear too, the medical bills, and thankfully they were members of MediShare, and MediShare came through for them, and not just financially.
But they called and they said, hey, we know you're going through treatment. We just wanted to call and pray for you. And it rocked my world. And every time they called, it was like, how can we pray for you right now? How are you doing today?
MediShare was a blessing to us because they just made it so easy.
Yes, MediShare can save you a lot of money, but as Karen and Michael discovered, it's also about knowing you're not going through life's hardest moments alone. Call now. See why so many people have made the switch to MediShare. Here's the number. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
The Senate confirms Jay Clayton as the nation's intelligence.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
The evacuation warnings are over, but the fire burns still. I'm Chris Davis. The fish fire has been tough for Kern County firefighters to get a handle on, and one of the reasons is because of the steep terrain where the fire is located near Caliente. Right now, it is about 37% contained and has burned 4,200 acres since it started about noon Monday. The Kern County Fire Department says the evacuation orders that were in place for people in the Caliente area have been lifted. To help solve the problem of the steep hills, firefighters have been using helicopters to try and douse the fire. None of the sewer rate increases for county residents passed at Tuesday's Board of Supervisors meeting. That happened after extensive discussion about the rate increases in Bakersfield that many people who live in the city and even county supervisors consider unfair. When the vote was taken, there simply were not enough votes to pass rate increases for now, which would be substantially less than the increases for the city. Copper wire theft has long been a problem in this area, and now the Kern County Sheriff's Office says they arrested someone who they believe stole a lot of wire From a farming company in Lamont, they say 29-year-old Rodrigo Garcia was caught red-handed trying to unload some copper wire at Lopez Recycling and Wrecking Yard. He has been charged with grand theft, possession of stolen copper wire, vandalism, and drug possession. And speaking of vandalism, just because you don't like the flock cameras does not mean that you get to destroy them. 40-year-old Marcus B. of Pismo Beach is under arrest after authorities say that he drove to Monterey County and destroyed at least 3 flock cameras, ramming them with his truck in Lockwood and Bradley. He also, according to the report, destroyed some license plate readers. The reason that police believe it was him, he was caught on surveillance video. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Coming to the wrestler in a month from now, this Hollywood Big Shot's gonna give you what you want. Too late, they start shooting in a week. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Wednesday. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com. Still lots to do. Jeff Flores, supervisor and overall good egg, will join us. We'll talk about some of the suggestions and information that the Social Policy Institute has accrued over the last year. We were signed them up for another contract. We've extended their contract even before the supervisors got to see what they suggested, which to me makes absolutely no sense. I've never heard of that. Never heard of that. Paying somebody to renew their contract before you know what they're going to provide for you. What if they had turned around and said, you know what, we have no idea. We have no idea how you can prevent Genesis Mata from being killed. We have no idea. And really what they came up with is bupkis. Because all they said, one of their big statements was that we meet the national and state we par with national and state statistics. What the hell does that mean? Well, hopefully we'll find out from Jeff Flores and other supervisors keep telling me to get Lito Murillo on, but I can't get him to return my phone calls. But we've had him on before, and this was the man that rated himself an A, gave his group an A, and yet a young girl was killed after they were told about it and investigated it, and somehow she slipped through the cracks. And now the county's going to have to pay a 7-figure check to the Mata family because there was a law firm in the name of Genesis Mata that's suing us. Of course they're suing us. We're incompetent. Why wouldn't they sue us? In the meantime, the supervisors are just like, well, everything's fine. What is this, just the price of doing business in Kern County with our DHS and our Child Protective Services? The children are going to die, even children whose families are investigated and probed by Child Protective Services. That's the price of doing business, that people are going to fall through the crack and 8-year-olds are going to have boiling hot water poured on them and have their father punch them in the stomach. A father with a criminal record, a father that could have stood out like a sore thumb with anybody with any type of competence could have seen this. This is worse than Hansel and Gretel. They left a trail so quick to follow Ray Mata, and yet somehow, some way, our Child Protective Services was incompetent, was unable to. I mean, Ray Mata this case is like the poster child of cases. Like most of them are a little more subtle, a little more discreet. They're not missing that many days of schools, and the bruises, they keep away from school until the bruises heal. No. Genesis Mata was missing school. She was coming to school with bruises, and mandated reporters and teachers at her school were telling Child Protective Services this. But they're an A. They're an A. And they meet national and state statistics. Great. Unless you want to live in a community where this is acceptable, we have to change something, and it has to start with Murillo. We'll bring that up with Mr. Flores coming up at the top of the hour. Top of the hour. In the meantime, this Clancy case, this mother who has killed her children it's about as god awful as it gets. And but Lisa's telling me I'm getting some of the facts wrong. Here are the facts. She killed her 3 children. And she's claiming that she has postpartum psychosis. I'm not following the trial. I know excerpts of it. I don't know the exact details, but she killed her 3 children. Ages, one was, I believe, 8 months. Please stand by. Hang on. I know we talked about this week. I think there were 5, 3, and 8 months. Yes, Cora was 5 years old. Dawson was 3 years old, and Kayleen was 8 months old. Here is Patrick Clancy, the father, talking about what he discovered when he came home.
Did you say anything to Lindsay when you found her in that state?
Yeah, I said, what happened?
And what was her response?
She said, I tried to kill myself.
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, where are the kids?
And what was her response?
She said, they're in the basement.
They're in the basement, the site of the murder. Here's more from the father, Patrick Clancy, who had to go and find his children.
When you saw her in that condition, what did you do?
I immediately ran over and tried to take the band off.
Were you able to get the band off?
Yeah,
And do you recall how you got the band off?
I think I untied it.
And when you say untied it, was it in a knot that you had to, put everything down and unknot it, or how was it tied?
I'm not sure I fully remember.
Do you recall describing it previously as when you initially tie your shoes but then don't do the bow?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So she had strangled the children and had left a knot in the exercise device or rubber device that she used to snuff out their lives. He had to literally untie this from his 5, 3, and 8-month-old child. And I don't know what to do with this Lindsay character. How can you not say she's not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? How can anybody say that's a sane woman? But should she be given a pass? Should be, this is a little different than what Vincent Brothers did. Vincent Brothers tried to wipe his family out for money. Money. We talked about this early in the week. Vincent Brothers was a very popular assistant principal and educator, a good-looking young man who was very, very gifted with the word of mouth and very, very manipulative, and wanted to get from underneath the burden of his family. And after church on a Sunday, went in with a gun, shot his mother-in-law, his estranged wife, and his 3 children. And one of them was a 6-month-old baby that he put a gun to and blew open her head. This is inexplicable. This is a woman who just less than a year ago gave birth to one of these children, let alone 5 years from the oldest. And it's just beyond our societal norms and our ability to understand how any mother could do this to their children, particularly at this age, and particularly in such a heinous way, individually. And so I mean, obviously she was fit for trial. So I think that bridge has already been crossed in terms of her sanity. I don't understand how their plea of postpartum psychosis wasn't presented pre-trial and presented as a reason for this never to go to trial. I don't know. What do you all think? I really don't know what to think. How in the world could anyone sane do this? And so if she's not sane, how can she possibly stand trial? And how can we possibly put her in prison? And it gets back to this mental epidemic that we're having, and that we've got to find and go back to state houses, state run facilities for the people on the street, for people like this woman who clearly are not only a danger to themselves, but dangers to others. I don't know. I can't, this doesn't compute for me. Ray Mata, how do you grasp that? How does a grown man punch an 8-year-old in the stomach so hard that it knocks her unconscious? And the coroner is saying that was the death blow. Where do we find these people? And what do we do with these people? The reason I believe Bustamante, Gabriela Bustamante, the stepmother of Mata, and Genesis' biological father should go to jail is because they have criminal records. They know right from wrong. They knew what they were doing. I'm not sure Lindsay Clancy understood what was going on. I don't know. I'm not for a second. Do not perceive this as some sort of empathy toward this woman or any sort of leniency toward this woman. I'm just saying we all don't agree that this is an insane thing to do. And there's something deeply wrong with this woman. I don't know. What do I know? It's just, how can you not cry about something like this? And sometimes it just makes me, my first response, and I know this is literally blasphemous, but I see things like that. I was like, how can there be a God? How can there be a supreme being? How can there be somebody that would create someone like this and that would allow something like this to happen to someone that is so defenseless, to a human being that can't defend itself, and to be snuffed out by their own parent? And this isn't simply a Homo sapien thing. Don't big cats at times kill their young? It's either lions or tigers. I think the mothers sometimes kill their young. I don't know. I feel like an idiot talking about this because I have no clue. I have no response. I have no answer. I don't know what to do with this woman. I obviously they're going to throw her underneath the jail if they can't provide some sort of state facility for her. But it's just a tragic case. Let's take a break and we'll get into another local case. The Estrada case is back in court. We learned some new things about how that whole thing ended. The man going to his father-in-law's home where his estranged wife went to get away from him, the husband. They were having a graduation party for the son. The father was not invited. He showed up, according to witnesses, drunk, got an argument with his estranged wife, and inevitably, according to witnesses, stabbed her in the neck with a pocket knife. I'll tell you the new information that we have. And then Jeff Flores is going to join us at 5 o'clock to talk about the Social Policy Institute and what they're telling Child Protective Services to do. We've got some sports news, more on LeBron being in Philly. I cannot wait. How many games in before they start booing him? I say by the 5th or 6th game, when they're 2-4, they start booing him.
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
I don't think it's going to be that good. They're a good team without him, so one would think they're a little better with him.
And Jalen coming in?
That's the issue. How does LeBron get the ball? Between Maxey, Embiid, and Jalen, who are all superior basketball players right now to LeBron, how does he get the ball? Is he going to be happy with 10 points a night? Is he going to be happy with 3 of 7 from the floor? You know what I'm saying? Only one basketball out there. And Jaylen Brown's going to have it for quite a long time. And when he doesn't have it, Joel Embiid's going to have it. When he doesn't have it, Maxi's going to have it. And then we might set a screen for LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Is that inaccurate in your opinion?
Again, I got to see how the entire thing works out, if he's going to be the facilitator or not, because there could be a world where they let VJ Edgecombe and Maxey run off screens and have LeBron
Have him be the point guard?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Would he be happy with that? Six assists and 12 points and 8 shots?
At this point in his career, I think the only thing he's looking for is one last push at a ring and just to leave on whatever terms he wants to leave on. I don't think he's
You do know we're talking about the guy that takes his hands and puts a crown on his head, right?
I get it. I
Same
understand.
guy, right? The same
But
guy
he
we're talking
hasn't
about?
led the league in scoring in years, so I don't think that's really his prerogative anymore. Actually, I don't think he ever has led.
You're giving him way more credit than I do, boy. I'll tell you that. Quick timeout. We'll check the board, see what you're talking about. It's the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Dr. Sam Woggood, chancellor of the University of California at San Francisco, was asked, can only women get pregnant? And that was asked by Representative Mary Miller. You know what? He couldn't answer it. That's what I'm talking about, because everybody listening to me right now knows that only women can get pregnant in the human race.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Very excited about my weekend. I'm taking a friend who's only been to Casey Steakhouse once, and they were there for an event, so they didn't even eat, but they liked the ambiance. And I said, wait till you get a hold of one of the best steaks you're ever going to have. And I'm going to turn them on to the Stockyard next door on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, where they have live music on Saturday. They have a lovely young woman named Lottie that plays. And of course, Bobby and Jimmy are playing live music Tuesday through Saturday in the main restaurant. But again, the ambiance, the restaurant's almost 90 years old, and no one could have ever believed that Cassie Biddle would take this restaurant to where it is now, advancing, adding on to it, just building up on the menu, where it's not just simply all about steaks. I told you about the lobster mac and cheese, the fish dishes, the chicken dishes, you name it. Chef Daniel's done an incredible job of expanding the menu. Where would you rather be than on F Street at KC Steakhouse, longtime sponsor of the Ralph Bailey Show?
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Carpet Outlet Plus installed over 1 million square feet of flooring last year alone. Over 20 years of Bakersfield's best flooring store means you can trust us with your hardwood, laminate, vinyl, and of course, carpet. Come in today to see over 100 waterproof floors from our in-stock inventory. It's probably been time to change your floors for a while, so call, click, or stop by today. Your free in-home estimate is waiting for you. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
One of the crappy things about growing old, as my fellow old people out there can attest, being old is the only time you can injure yourself doing absolutely nothing. I was sitting at KC Steakhouse last night, sitting at the bar as I want to do, enjoying my Ralph Bailey, my beautiful chicken breast with the mushroom and spinach sauce, little baked potato. I should have had sliced tomatoes because I think my blood pressure is starting to blow, and steamed vegetables. And a friend, an acquaintance, someone that I know and I've seen a lot, and a very nice guy, was sitting at the top of the bar, and we're talking and we're talking and we're talking. And then he got up to leave. He was parked in the front. So when he got up to leave, I'm sitting like this, and I go to shake his hand, and he's coming. See, I can't even lift my arm. He's coming this way, and I go to shake his hand, like right here, and he shakes it and just kind of pulls it, and it felt like it felt like my shoulder had come out of my socket, just from a simple handshake at a weird angle. And so now I'm suffering. I once injured myself, this was 2 years ago, I'll never forget this, sneezing. Swear to God.
So it was just that
I
hard of a
sneezed,
sneeze.
and I hurt my rib.
Oh,
Sneezing.
that has to hurt.
Shaking hands, sneezing, just tiny little things like that. Just totally, I almost broke my neck getting out of the tub this afternoon because I went to lean on, I leaned on the bottom of the tub as I grabbed the sink, and I forgot that my shoulder was messed up, and it kind of gave, and I damn near broke my hip. That's the next report you're going to get. Bailey is out for a couple of weeks. He's having his hip replaced. Why does JR have this all combobulated right here? Hang on a second. I got to untie the microphone.
Uh-oh. Well, this may take a moment, folks, but he is currently getting it done. Yep, there you go. There you go. Now we got it.
That's all I had to do. Now I can unravel it and come over here to the chat room and see what you all are talking about. Someone says, hang on a second, hang on a second. Don't go anywhere. Old man, what are you going to do? A lot of today's players can no longer bunk. They don't know how anymore.
Bunt, yeah.
Bunt? Is that what he's trying to say? Bunt?
I remember you were saying Mookie.
Oh, yeah, he did. And then he came back with bunt. Yeah, bunt. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The bunt is not something that we do anymore in baseball, which is ridiculous. And like I said, in that situation, 2 outs, runners on the corner, and the second baseman playing basically on top of second base. The third baseman playing shortstop, and the shortstop is playing like, almost that softball rover position, really. And even a bunt down third base would have scored. Any type of bunt that was safe would have scored a run. But Mookie sees himself as Boston Red Sox and first 4 or 5 years in LA, Mookie Betts, and he's not. He's just not. That's not who he is anymore. And Dave Roberts can't treat him like his legend. He's got to treat him as he is today. And today, he's a 240 hitter, which ain't going to get it done. Just not going to get it done. Not in the top 4 or 5 of the lineup. And all I'm saying is, I love Mookie. He's a good shortstop. He's become one of the better shortstops in the league. I was thinking about this. Do you think about this? What are you doing? Do you think about this? That 2 World Series, and I know I'm being the master of the obvious, I'm just reminiscing. The two last, Game 6 and Game 7s, both ended on double plays. Isn't that crazy to think about? They both ended on double plays. Kike with the catch and the throw and the great short hop by Miggy in Game 6. And me standing in the middle of KC Steakhouse, Arieh to my left. And I swear, ask Arieh. I'm like, ground ball. Come on, Yosh. Ground ball. Up the middle. Mookie steps on second. He throws to first. Double play. And I go running out of KC Steakhouse. Literally, I go running out of KC Steakhouse like this. And if the entire restaurant wasn't involved, I'd have felt like an idiot. But the whole restaurant went nuts. You know what Cassie Biddle said? Thank God it's over. I don't have to put this damn baseball game in the middle of my damn restaurant more. Because people were hanging till like midnight, not buying a damn thing. Quick time out, back half of the hour. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Bullets recovered from two bystanders killed during a shootout at a Seattle festival last weekend do not appear to have come from the gun that a 15-year-old arrested at the scene was firing. That's what police said in court documents filed Wednesday. The King County Prosecutor's Office filed charges of first-degree assault with a firearm enhancement as well as unlawful possession of a handgun by someone under 18. Iran launched a barrage of missiles at American forces in the Middle East on Wednesday as the U.S. partnered with Saudi Arabia to strike Tehran-backed militias in neighboring Iraq, killing at least 20 fighters and 6 Iranian advisors. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 1,153 points. The Nasdaq dropped 433. More details at srnnews.com.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them. Current Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
If you live in the Caliente area, you should be aware that the fish fire is still burning, now 37% contained, but so far it has burned 4,200 acres, says the Kern County Fire Department. You should also be aware that the evacuation orders that were in effect have been lifted. In Lamont, 29-year-old Rodrigo Garcia has been charged with grand theft, vandalism, and possession of stolen copper wire after Kern County deputies say they caught him at Lopez Recycling and Wrecking trying to get rid of some copper wire that they say had been stolen from a farm company in Lamont. In Monterey County, 40-year-old Marcus B. is charged in the vandalism and destruction of several flock cameras and license plate readers in the Bradley and Lockwood communities. Police there say he was caught on video. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230, KERN.
Did you know termites can silently feast on your home for 3 to 4 years before you see any damage? They can literally eat a bedroom wall in less than 2 years, causing major structural damage to your biggest investment. Don't wait for the evidence to appear. Ryan's Termite is running an early bird special. If you know or even suspect that you have termites, get on Ryan's schedule now for an additional 10% off our already lowest price. All work is guaranteed. There's no money down and no contracts. Plus, in most cases, you won't even have to move or tent your house. Protect your home and save. Call Ryan's today. That's Ryan'sTermiteControl.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday of the First Look program, the triumphant return of Dr. Corey Gonzalez, and let's be honest, it mostly means burritos, but also some form of mental health care. We will have news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230, KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230,
That song's my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire song. 842-5376, 842-KERN. And as I mentioned, I've got more bad news to share coming up at the top of the hour. Jeff Flores is going to join us. That's not the bad news. Although it could be, I don't know. We'll find out what he has to say about the SPI report that's coming back on the Genesis Mata case was the genesis of this. But in the meantime, the Estrada case continues. I'm trying to go through my notes and find some information that I was going to share with you all, but I can't find it. Anyway, 45-year-old Rafael Estrada is accused of killing 32-year-old Taylor Dominguez Estrada. She was trying to do the right thing and get away from this guy. She had moved in with her father on, I believe it was either Monterey or Kentucky. I can't remember. And as I've talked about whenever I allude to this, it's eerily similar to the OJ murder, because the day that OJ killed Nicole Simpson, they had attended an event for their child, just as the Estrada family did this young boy's graduation. For the Simpson family, it was Nicole's daughter's ballet recital that OJ kind of barged in on late. And then the family was all together, and OJ said, "What are we doing?" And Nicole was kind of like, We? Well, we over here, my family, my mother, and the kids are going to La Luna. You are not invited. And in my opinion, it's never one thing that causes something. It's kind of a build up, the perfect storm, but there's always the thing that makes it snap. And I think that's what made it snap. And in this case, locally, this Rafael Estrada, she had asked him to sign the divorce papers, which I'm sure raised the tension. Then he was not invited to the graduation party. She's trying to get away from this man at her father's home. And he shows up, according to witnesses, drunk, and gets into an argument with her in a bedroom, and then comes in front of their daughter and slits her throat with a pocket knife. Well, what we've now learned, he said, well, what's so new, Ralph? And I don't know, maybe I'm just late on the news, but we learned today, KGT is reporting, that he led police on a high-speed chase. I was unaware of that. Were you aware of that, Mr. Burdick?
Am I aware of?
That, what are you
trying to do multiple things at once? I'm sorry, but aware of what?
That Mr. Estrada, the guy that slit his wife's throat, led cops on a high-speed chase?
That I did not know.
I didn't know that either. Okay, good. I was just checking to see if it was common knowledge, and I'm just...
The worst I had heard about this story was the laying down on the wife and slitting her throat with the baby girl trying to call the cops.
Yeah. But apparently he led them on a high-speed chase, and he was heard to have said to the police, "Kill me, kill me." And, well, I don't think I have to complete my sentence. And you probably completed it as well. When he was screaming, "Kill me, kill me," I don't have to complete the sentence. Sometimes you think, well, let me just shut up. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, this trial will go on, and the children are testifying. Does it get any worse than that? To be in the home, let alone witness the death of your mother. I told you that Thaddeus, my nephew, was with my sister when she died. And I'm still kicking myself for not strongly suggesting that we put him in therapy immediately, because his whole life changed. He started getting Fs. It was during the COVID pandemic. He wasn't going to class. He wasn't lifting his computer, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think we rightfully took into account the PTSD, or whatever you want to call it, the impact that Thaddeus had to have gone through. Well, that's just watching your mother die, which is traumatic enough. I can't even imagine. But to watch your mother murdered by your father, that is unimaginable. That is absolutely unimaginable. And do you see this punk on television holding up a legal pad to hide his face? Yeah, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to hide your face from Bubba. when you get in prison. I don't understand life in the 21st century. I truly don't. And maybe that's just a sign of old age. That's maybe what my grandfather said. Maybe that's what my dad said. Maybe that's what all folks over 50, 55, 60 begin to say, that they just don't recognize the world any longer. And maybe that's just the cycle of life, that we don't fit anymore. Maybe that's what it is, that old people have been aged out, that the things that we once loved don't exist any longer. And it's a whole new world that I'm just not familiar with. You know, the lack of decorum, the lack of decency, presidents reveling at people's death, children being murdered by their parents, husbands killing their wives just because they want to get away from them. We didn't grow up with that in the 20th century. Yes, there were obviously, murders between husbands and wives. That's as old as the Bible, for God's sakes. There's a comedian. I don't know if it's a comedian but it's the nature of who we are. And he goes on and talks about Cain and Abel. He says, do you realize that we are 4 human beings in, and a third of the population were murderers? I mean, think about that. It's true. It's almost within us to be violent and to be murderous, but not like this. I've never seen anything like this. The random shootings didn't exist in the 70s and the 80s. We never had, the drills that we had were fire drills or earthquake drills. Now our children, these generations, are growing up with shooter drills, where they literally have to practice what to do if an armed man comes into your school. We never did that in the 20th century. And again, like I said, I'm willing to admit that it's probably just old age, and that I'm just not long for this world, and this world isn't long for me, because I don't recognize it. I just don't. Politicians cursing on national television, just the whole disrespect for the elders. I always feared my parents more than anybody, but we respected our teachers. We would not dare speak rudely to our teachers. And back then, guess what? Teachers would put their hands on you. I had a beautiful young nun in New York City crack me over the head with a yardstick. Sister Betril was her name. Burdick doesn't get that.
I went right over my head.
The Flying Nun. It was a series with Sally Fields, a teenaged Sally Fields, and she used the oh Lord, and I'm Catholic. Don't tell me the oh Lord. What's the headpiece called?
The headpiece.
The headpiece the nuns wear. The nuns wear.
What nuns wear? Oh,
somebody help me out here.
Shawl. That's not right.
It's not a shawl. It's a shawl. Just look up nuns' headpieces, would you please? Shawl.
Veil.
What is it called?
Veil.
The headpiece is called a veil?
Yeah, it's a veil.
That looks like wings on it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
You're talking about the big, long, black headpiece that they wear with the...
No. Not the thing that like looks like a towel. I'm talking about, it's like a headpiece that it looks like wings. That was the whole premise of the Flying Nun. She could use the headpiece as wings and could actually fly.
Cornet?
Is that what's the description?
It just says the nun's headpiece with quote-unquote wings is historically known as a cornet.
Okay, there you go. That's what I'm talking
by
about.
the Daughters of Charity, nicknamed the Flying Nun Hat.
Okay, there you go. And that was the name of the series, The Flying Nun, starring the great Sally Fields. Who knew when she was playing Gidget and a flying nun that she'd be in front of the Academy saying, "You like me! You like me! You really like me!" And she's handed her Academy Award.
That's what that's from. Okay.
You like me? Oh, yeah.
I knew that. I know of that part, but I had no idea what she played to actually get that.
I don't either, because I was just about to ask. I think she has 2. I think she got one for Norma Ray. Well, let's find out, shall we? Hey, Siri, how many Academy Awards does Sally Struthers have? Who am I talking about? Sally Fields. Hey, Siri, how many? No, I was kidding. How many? Oh, she gave me Sally Fields. She has received various accolades, including 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress for Norma Ray and Places in the Heart. Ooh. Yeah, I hear you. That's a great film. I haven't seen that in a long time. But who knew that the flying system? Okay, I forgot. My thing's on silent, so I've got a couple of text messages here. Hold on. I've got the associate producer and our Thursday regular on hold here. Were you looking for me? Yes, I was. I'll be over there in about 15 minutes. So don't leave before 5:01, please, Lisa. I'll be over there in just a second. And let's see what Mr. Petrie's habit. Oops, cornet. Now, I thought it was a habit as well. Now that I hear that word, look up habit. What do they have under habit? Is that a synonym for a cornet? Because I thought a cornet was a woodwind instrument.
Head covering worn by a nun is known as a veil, blah, 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 which is part of a larger traditional religious outfit known as a habit. The entire thing is known as a habit.
Okay. So the cornet is part of the habit.
Exactly. So instead of a veil, you would have a cornet.
I see. Okay. It's a long way from Catholic school in Queens, y'all. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm a good Catholic boy. Well, I'm a Catholic boy. Well, I'm Catholic. That's about all I can say. I'm not a very, very good Catholic at all. I'm truly not. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll check the board some more. And coming up, excited to talk with Supervisor Jeff Flores. Keep it locked. He's coming up. More from Daniel Petrie. Please stand by. Amen. I don't know, Daniel. On days like today, man, I start to wonder, is there truly a God in the heavens? Or am I just cursed?
Okay, drama.
I mean, it just...
Don't get me wrong. You have had a bad string of luck around your birthday the last couple years. I cannot deny that.
Couple years? Man.
But like when you were a kid, it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, I didn't really pay attention to my birthday when I was a kid.
Fair.
A couple of summers I was in camp. And like I said, I went to high school. I didn't go to high school in the neighborhood with the kids that I went to school with. So I never, ever, ever, ever had a birthday party. I had like 4 or 5 friends in the neighborhood. What was I going to invite Brian Walker and those guys? And, no. We always had just a little cake. My dad would get us a Baskin Robbins cake. It was my favorite. Ice cream cake. And just because, and I think the main reason is because we have so many birthdays right on top of each other. My mother's July 31st. I'm August 3rd. And my dad is 2 weeks later. So to do like a big party and stuff like that, no. My mother never really had big parties. My dad would take her on vacation. I told you about my 16th birthday when they were out of town, and my father almost shot me when we got back when I took the vehicle for a spin uninsured and lost the moonroof. Yeah, I was a mess. I was a well-behaved kid. I was Eddie Haskell, but I was mischievous. I couldn't do what I was told. I know we find that shocking. Quick time out. We're coming right back. It's TRBS on a Wednesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, streaming live at KernRadio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk.
Messmaker. Yeah.
9 a.m.
On the Thursday of the First Look program, the triumphant return of Dr. Corey Gonzalez, and let's be honest, it mostly means burritos, but also some form of mental health care. We will have news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
You know, it must be nice to be able to retire like Serena Williams and then say, I'm unretired. But for most of us, that's not the case. When we hang it up, that's about it. That's why you've got to be prepared for the late fourth quarter in your lives. And that's why I always stress that the smartest financial move I have ever made happened about 10 years ago when I became a client at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. And the other thing I always remind you about, I've turned on colleagues here at American General Media to Daniel, and they could not be happier about what Daniel has done for them financially. Call Daniel Petrie at 395-9400, 395-9400, or just tune in on Thursdays. He appears here every Thursday at 4:30, and his office is located right on the corner of 21st and Oak. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation for advisory services by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Incorporated, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. The program host is a client and receives compensation and other financial benefits in connection with this advertisement, creating a conflict of interest. Experiences discussed may not be representative of other clients.
You know, Michael, one of the things people don't understand sometimes is all the work that goes into making these awesome commercials. You know, you and I are out here, we get to do all the fun stuff, talking it up, having a good time. There's a guy that sits over here behind his computer, Rocky. Now, this guy, there's a true talent. We're just a couple of knuckleheads with some voices. This guy really makes us sound good.
Truer words have never been spoken. I've known Rock for a lot of years, and he is like Mozart with that computer. He makes everyone sound better.
So with that being said, one of the ways you get so excited about Salty's Barbecue is because of the great work that Rocky does when he puts together these awesome spots. I'm going to let my good buddy Rocky just say a quick hello and a big thank you to him. So Rocky, here you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. I truly appreciate those kind words. And it is an absolute honor to be able to knock these commercials out for you guys. And yes, they are not exaggerating because these guys are a handful, to say the least.
You can find us at 9425 Rosedale Highway or 6801 White Lane. Or if you want, you can go to saltysbbq.com and order online.
Salty's Barbecue and Catering.
California Grill,
Texas approved. Oh, it's good.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 12.
We're going to beat the effing S out of them. We'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating. What the president says. See what happens. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What do you got on the board?
This first one just says, it's a wimple?
It's a wimple?
Maybe this is another name for
the habit, for the cornet. A wimple?
Sure. Again, I didn't necessarily grow up around nuns, so I don't know the terminology.
I grew up around nuns in New York when I was a child. They were mean as snakes. I told you, I was always, I'm sure you find this hard to believe, but I was always the talkative kid. And so what the nun did, we had two doors, a front door and a back door. And she said, I'll be back in a minute. And she went out the front door. She said, Sharon, you're going to be in charge. No one talk while I'm gone. She went out the back door and just walked down the hall. And in that short of time, I'm already going into my Don Rickles bit. And she comes up from behind me and literally swung and hit me in the back of the head with a yardstick, broke the yardstick in half. And that I felt was like, okay.
It's excessive.
I felt like I got a break. Because you know what they used to do?
Hands.
Right over the knuckles, Jack. Right over the knuckles. And they would do it with a ruler, which is harder, actually, than a yardstick. That's why the yardstick just broke over my big chrome dome. I mean, it hurt, and it scared the crap out of me, and I cried like a baby. So, I think I was in third grade. I just cried out of fear. I wasn't in pain. But yeah, they would have you put your hands down on a desk and hit you with a ruler over your knuckles. Like I am, and you're saying, oh, Ralph, you're a hypocrite, because I am totally in favor of corporal punishment. I don't know how you have raised your children without an occasional swat or some sort of intimidation to put some fear in the children. I believe that up until a certain age, children should fear their parents, or at least not fear their parents, like, oh my God, here comes my dad, but fear the wrath of their parents if they step out of line. That I thought was discipline and how we raised kids. Not in the 21st century, apparently. And as I've talked about, whenever I talk about this, I ask parents who don't swat their children, were you swatted? Did you get whoopings? Well, yeah, of course. Well, why not follow in your parents' footsteps? And I think that's a deep psychological thing where some adults have problems with the way their parents raise them, and they go out of their way not to raise their kids the way they were raised, even though they turned out all right. Or maybe that's the case. Maybe we've got a bunch of psychos out there that don't want to follow in their parents' footsteps. But my Catholic school experience was not a happy one. It truly wasn't. One more. Let's get into the 5 o'clock hour and bring in Supervisor Flores.
Ralph, she needs to roast. I'm assuming this is the Clancy lady.
Yeah, I guess. How can you argue, though, that she's not insane? You think she did this just maliciously? That she was tired of these kids and wanted to get rid of them? And this was the easiest way to do it? I mean, I don't know. I just don't see how you can declare that this woman is of sound mind and body. But yeah, she deserves. I've always thought that life in prison was so much harder than the death penalty. As most of you know, I'm not a big fan of the death penalty. I don't think that's our job. I think that's the Lord's gig and not ours. And I think wasting away in prison for the rest of your life and having that burden waking up every day knowing that you're never going to see the day of light of day, I think that's harder than taking somebody out. I mean, look at Estrada. Look at Rafael Estrada. He kills his wife and he takes police on a chase. And what does he want? He says, kill me. Kill me, because I know what I'm about to face. You're about to throw me in county jail. I'm going to go through a long trial. I'm going to be found guilty. And the DA in Kern County will cut a plea deal and I'll do 5 to 10 years. No, that's a horrible, horrible joke, but it's a subtle criticism of our district attorney's office down in Truxton, which makes plea deals like P.T. Barnum. What? You're a human trafficker? Let's make a deal. I'm Monty Hall. What? You rammed into a grandmother and killed her? She's 64 years old? Let's make a deal. Pick door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. Jeff Flores joins us next.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Leaders in Washington. Iran has launched a barrage of missiles at American forces in the Middle East. President Trump says Iran knows what will happen next after its attacks.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it. But, they tried shooting it last night. So we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour. And all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. But they nevertheless took a shot. So it's our turn.
The U.S., meanwhile, partnered with Saudi Arabia on Wednesday to strike Iran-backed militias in neighboring Iraq, killing at least 20 fighters. Iraqi militia officials said 6 Iranian advisors were also killed in the U.S.-Saudi strikes. There's no do-over for Wisconsin's absentee voters.
A judge in Wisconsin has ruled that voters who have already returned their absentee ballots for the state's primary election are not allowed to void those and request a new one. The Dane County Circuit Court judge ruled against Democrats, who filed a last-minute lawsuit ahead of the August 11th primary. 3 Democratic candidates for governor have dropped out of the race. One has re-entered it, creating a chaotic party primary. The ruling comes after more than 117,000 voters have already returned their absentee ballots. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Dr. Anthony Fauci will face a contempt of Congress vote in a Senate committee next week after he invoked the Fifth Amendment in a hearing about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Wednesday's hearing, Fauci declined to answer dozens of questions from senators. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 1,153 points. The S&P 500 declined 112. More at townhall.com.
How many times are you going to walk into that outdated bathroom and think, I really need a bathroom makeover? Stop putting it off and transform your bathroom and your life in as little as one day with a beautiful, affordable shower makeover from Jacuzzi Bath Remodel. Choose from custom designs tailored to your budget and style, including safety-focused features for beauty and peace of mind.
I've had a great experience from start to finish. The crew that came in, they were so professional. This looks like a marble, beautiful, new shower, and it was done all in one day.
Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Call now to schedule your free design consultation and quote. Call 800-384-3305. That's 800-384-3305. 800-384-3305. With purchase and installation, financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Charge from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Call dealer for details.
Oil, AI, and the Federal Reserve's decision to keep...
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
The evacuation warnings are over, but the fire burns still. I'm Chris Davis. The fish fire has been tough for Kern County firefighters to get a handle on, and one of the reasons is because of the steep terrain where the fire is located near Caliente. Right now, it is about 37% contained and has burned 4,200 acres since it started about noon Monday. The Kern County Fire Department says the evacuation orders that were in place for people in the Caliente area have been lifted. To help solve the problem of the steep hills, firefighters have been using helicopters to try and douse the fire. None of the sewer rate increases for county residents passed at Tuesday's Board of Supervisors meeting. That happened after extensive discussion about the rate increases in Bakersfield that many people who live in the city and even county supervisors consider unfair. When the vote was taken, there simply were not enough votes to pass rate increases for now, which would be substantially less than the increases for the city. Copper wire theft has long been a problem in this area, and now the Kern County Sheriff's Office says they arrested someone who they believe stole a lot of wire from a farming company in Lamont. They say 29-year-old Rodrigo Garcia was caught red-handed trying to unload some copper wire at Lopez Recycling and Wrecking Yard. He has been charged with grand theft, possession of stolen copper wire, vandalism, and drug possession. And speaking of vandalism, just because you don't like the flock cameras does not mean that you get to destroy them. 40-year-old Marcus B. of Pismo Beach is under arrest after authorities say that he drove to Monterey County and destroyed at least 3 flock cameras, ramming them with his truck in Lockwood and Bradley. He also, according to the report, destroyed some license plate readers. The reason that police believe it was him, he was caught on surveillance video. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Welcome to the rest well in a month from now. This Hollywood Big Shot's gonna give you what you want. Too late, they start shooting in a week. I'm gonna make them an offer again with you.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for, live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Wednesday, a hectic Wednesday. Lots going on. I'm about to go on vacation. I'm signing paperwork. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I apologize. And you're right. I've got 1 foot on the 405 and 1 foot in this studio. Be kind to my guest hosts next week. Kathy Abernathy among them, Clayton Campbell among them, Rick Bentley, and I'll be back. What is that? The 10th or 11th? Is that next Monday? Well, my birthday's Monday's the 3rd, so next Monday's the 10th. So I'll be back on the 10th. So be kind.
RBS birthday week?
It is.
Where are you going?
Los Angeles.
Nice. All right.
Particularly El Segundo. No, I'm kidding. Okay. As you can tell, without introduction, Supervisor Jeff Flores has joined us. He wants to hear the moonroof story, y'all. It's a great story.
I'll hear it.
It's a horrible story.
You can't tease it and then not tell it.
True, but I've told it so many times.
Oh.
So I am 15 and a half, and we're thinking about, and I've raised about $3,500 on my own, working summers. Yeah, in 1977, 78, that was a ton of money. And the Mazda RX-5 had failed. Remember those commercials? And the Mazda goes, and the other music goes, well, it failed. And so Mazda was in a tough position, and they came out with the RX-7, which was this tiny little kind of sports car, but nobody wanted to roll the dice with it because the RX-5 was such a disaster. Well, my father and I saw it at an auto show at the convention center downtown. And to make a long story short, we purchased the car for about $7,000. I had the $3,500. My dad got the rest of it. And I turned 16 that summer, in August 3rd. My parents, my mother's birthday is 3 days before mine. They went to the Orient. My father sat me down, and there were two ways my dad talked to me. Little Ralph, get in here. And if I just had to stand in the bedroom, wasn't that serious. But he said, have a seat. And if I had to sit at the foot of his bed, it was serious. And Jeff, honest to God, this is what he said to me. Swear to God, this is what he said to me. Put your sister in prostitution. Burn down the house. I don't care what you do, but listen to me carefully. Do not get in that vehicle. Do you understand what I'm saying, son? No, Ralph. Look at me. I'm serious. That car is not insured. I know you're going to get your license while we're gone, but don't even be tempted. I am dead serious. And I did the proverbial, of course, Dad, unbeknownst to Ralph Sr., I'd already copied the keys. Don't judge me. I'm 50 and a half.
Mischievous. Oh, my Lord.
So here comes my birthday, and I took the test with my cousin, my grandparents, and my cousin George, who was 5 years older than me. I took the test in our little Datsun B210, and I had to take it for a ride, Jeff. And the thing about it was, I started just in the neighborhood, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And my friends lived in the valley. So I, at 16 years old, drove out to Northridge. We dropped off John Tempero. We are now heading back on the 405.
Oh, my Lord.
Now we're going southbound, headed to Sherman Oaks to drop off Ed, and then I'm headed back towards the airport to go home. And I had a moonroof, and it had like a latch in the back, and then a kind of a deadbolt in the front. The thing kind of like this in the back. And I could figure that out, but I didn't notice that the latch, or I couldn't figure this out. But I had the latch, so I figured it'd be safe. Well, no, because when you travel and it vibrates, the deadbolt would move, which it did while we were driving on the 405.
Busiest freeway in the United States, by the way.
And it was a Sunday night, and it was 1978. So it wasn't, it's just a miracle that I didn't kill anybody, because I'm driving along, and all of a sudden we hear this, and like for a millisecond, we didn't really even know what happened. And I look in the rearview mirror, and my moonroof is bouncing on the freeway, Jeff. Like, it is a miracle. Literally, it's a miracle that I didn't kill anybody. And this is how stupid we were at 16. We get off, go down Sepulveda to get back on the freeway, parked on the top side of the freeway, got out of the car and recovered it.
You could have been killed twice.
Twice I could have been killed. So to make a long story short, my parents aren't going to be back for another 4 weeks. They're in the Orient. We got a chance to get it. We ordered. My cousin helps me fix it, order it. It's coming in 3 weeks. It arrived the day they got home. And we had a piano in the front room of the house. And I saw that my parents were back. And I was thinking, God, how am I going to get this thing into the house when it comes now that they're home?
Delivery back then was a little bit different.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, it had already arrived. And as I walked in the door, my dad was sitting at the piano looking at the front door with the new moonroof sitting next to him and said, "You got something to tell me?" And I'm pretty sure that was the last whooping I ever got in my life. No, I don't think he, no, he did. I don't think I didn't get whooped. I really didn't. I was too old. I think at like 14, 15, he stopped whooping me. But my penalty was, so now it's September, school is starting, and I couldn't drive the car until till after December. So I was in 11th grade going on the bus to school with my 6-year-old sister.
It's a punishment of omission, which is tough at that age.
Oh,
when you got a new RX-7.
And it's sitting right there, and I can't get behind it.
And you already test drive it to the valley.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story.
And
that's why I like your show, because you tell the stories.
It's crazy. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life. Meantime, we have much more serious things to discuss. The Social Policy Institute has given their recommendations on what we should be doing with Child Protective Services. Give us a breakdown on what they said and what you think about it.
We did. So after hiring the group, extending the group's term, a year of investigation and surveys and focus groups, community listening sessions, document reviews, process reviews, referral reviews, top down, the whole thing. So finally we got the overarching assessment yesterday at our AM session. So basically, we've got work to do. So I'll start there. And let me start with some additional context. They painted the environment that Kern operates in, both here and in East Kern, the geographic diversity, how big the county is, the poverty rates. We have double the poverty rate of the state of California in all sections of the county. That presents inherent challenges. We have diversity issues, staff that matches our clients. So the overall finding in a nutshell, and we can break it down after that, was Kern County needs to move away from a compliance-driven only system, move beyond that.
What does that mean?
Just that we only do the bare minimum of compliance and reaction, that we need to move to a comprehensive system of proactive, comprehensive system of wellness model, which encompasses more than CPS. It encompasses basically the entire community, schools, the courts, probation, healthcare. How can we address people before it comes a problem? It takes all of us working together. That our county CPS needs to do a better job of working with all these entities, because it's not just us showing up, interviewing the family. It's going to be the school counselor, the teacher, the church, the doctor, all of us. How can we strengthen our relationships to tackle child abuse collectively? That was one of the overarching findings, was to move towards reaction, bare minimum, compliance-driven, to a better model system of care. And so an analogy would be in healthcare. They've already done this in healthcare. They've moved away from that doctor prescription to an overall integrated system of what they call social determinants of health. What can they give the patient? Exercise regime, diet regime, in addition to meds, a holistic approach to address healthcare needs. But this is kind of for the CPS.
Did they get specific? Did they talk about certain cases and how they occurred? And will we ever find out how in the world, in the Genesis Mata case, that they were instructed, CPS was, by both mandated reporters and teachers 20 times, Mr. Flores, 20 times they were told. And yet this child was not taken away from Ray Mata, and he was allowed to pour boiling water over this child, punch her in the stomach lethally. How does this happen?
They looked at a number of cases, and Genesis Mata was one of them. But in the report that I got, I didn't see a drilling down of that specific case. I just thought we got a systemic, overarching view of CPS findings, recommendations, but they didn't tease out that one specific case and drill down on that case.
Yeah, they also
I think they looked at the case, but
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, in the overall findings, it's that case plus other cases plus the whole process was the final document.
Why not analyze that case?
They
Why
did.
not
They did.
come and tell us what happened? What were the errors? How do we fix it? How did this happen?
They did, but I didn't get a singular treatment in what was presented before my board. I did not get that yesterday.
Will we ever know? Will little Murillo come forward? Will anybody tell us how do these things occur?
Well, we're currently getting sued now, so that's going to work its way through the courts.
Yes, it is.
We'll see what the judge says.
And we're going to lose. We're going to have to write them a check.
I don't know what happened.
Really?
No, I don't. No.
Well, truly, I don't know either. But if you had to bet, and we're going to write a very large check, would you not think that?
I do a lot of risk assessment, a lot of litigation in closed session, and we have written a lot of big checks. So could it happen? It could happen, but it's too early for me to handicap the case.
Should it be happening?
No, it should not be happening. I never want to be sued in any department, much less for a child death.
Isn't that an indication that whoever is leading CPS and DHS is not living up to snuff, not doing the job correctly, and needs to be replaced?
Well, if you grant the assertion that it's his fault and CPS's fault, then yes. But
I wouldn't say it was his fault, but I would say it's his responsibility. I'm not saying that Lito Murillo caused this, but it fell under his watch. And it's always been my understanding that when you're the leader and things that should never happen occur, and more than once, Genesis Mata is just, like I've been telling my audience, if they didn't react for 20 calls, what about the child that only got 3 calls or 5 calls or 7 calls? And there are such cases that are in this lawsuit. And if it happens under your watch and you can't explain how it happened or why it happened or why this lack of communication occurred, that's not a great job review.
So this case was looked at, and then if you look at the findings in the presentation yesterday, one of the outcomes was there was no willful neglect by Kern County CPS. Kern County CPS is on par with state agencies and federal national standards, so they didn't draw that conclusion.
Well, it's never willful neglect. Nobody wants to be incompetent. But if it's neglect, it's neglect. Whether it's willful, whether it's inadvertent, whether it's a freak, whatever it is, it can't happen.
It cannot happen. And if it's found in the court or if it's found anywhere else that CPS dropped the ball, that it was their fault, then we should take the biggest sanction possible.
Well, isn't that what this lawsuit is going to prove out?
I don't know what it's going to
Because I'll tell you what, if I do something stupid and Rogers Brandon gets sued and we lose, see you guys. It's been nice knowing you. I'm going to go sell some shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, yeah, I get it. The legal process will play out, and we'll see what happens with that court case.
Yeah.
But back to the findings. Irrespective of that case and others, there's work to be done. There were some very sobering findings with respect to timeliness, monitoring,
communication,
emergency response,
staffing,
caseloads, training, burnout, onboarding. So
see, this sounds like a D to me. All of you just described. If I had to grade that, that's a D. Mr.
Yeah.
Murillo came on and said that he gives his audience, he gives his a group an A.
Well, they got some A in sub areas. They got some D's in others. So the grading is all over the spectrum. So I know we have work to do. I'm looking forward to having the department fulfill the findings, fulfill the recommendations, own those recommendations, and now let's start to implement. Some will take 2 to 3 years. Some we can do immediately. Some will be midterm. But he's going to come back if it's a staffing issue. If we need to hire more social workers to balance the caseloads, then we need to do that. If we need to incorporate better tools and technology, well, there's phenomenal technology now that County of LA is already using. AI, we talk about AI and people use AI for different things, but there's whole AI software that can do amazing things, that can harness the power of multiple social workers, reporting, testimony. I've done the drills. I've done the drills with the principals of the company. They can take. It's amazing what it can do. The technology can interview 4 or 5 people simultaneously, record it, tell them who's doing what with interruption, background noise, and do an immaculate report and set out next steps, what needs to be done, better than anything I've ever seen before. So I think this is the future. Other counties are using it. We can embrace it. And I think we can only go up from here and give the social workers the tools, and the more than tools. This is saving lives. This is working more productively, better, stronger, more efficiently. And so I'm looking forward to giving them the tools that are needed to do their job to protect our children.
Supervisor Jeff Flores is our guest. We're talking about the Social Policy Institute was brought up here to tell CPS and DHS what's going on. What is your assessment, Mr. Murillo? You feel good about him leading us throughout the 20s?
Yeah, I stand by him. And he's gotten the baton, and he needs to make good on this, embrace the findings, embrace the recommendations, work with SPI, work with our board, work with the community to take us to improve, take us to the next level, and do all that we can to make sure that we minimize deaths, that we save children from bad families, that we reunite them with their siblings in a safe environment with caregivers, that we make improvements across every category.
I almost spoke for my audience, but
Sure.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to speak for Ralph Bailey.
Sure.
This is why I have such poor trust in government, because it's my belief that anybody else in any other job, in any other sector, with the record that Mr. Murillo has, would be out on their butt. But it's government. And it's like, well, he's doing okay. It's just an 8-year-old that died. Come on, it's the price of doing business, I suppose. And we're going to get sued on top of that and write a 7-figure check on top of that. And Murillo gets to keep his gig. All throughout that, we've got dead bodies and a lawsuit that's going to cost us millions of dollars. But Murillo's okay. I can't comprehend that.
But if that presupposes that he was negligent and at fault and that he caused it, which I think there'll be another narrative that says it wasn't CPS's fault.
Then whose fault was it?
Was Raymada's fault.
Despite the warnings, despite the investigations, despite teachers telling them, CPS, she's coming to school with bruises.
Well, that will come out in the lawsuit.
Yes, it will.
So I want to see the whole thing too, Ralph. The department has a different narrative. They say things happen differently. This guy absconded, and they can refute everything that we're hearing in the press, and they'll accept some things where they drop the ball as well.
I just don't understand it, but I guess it's beyond me.
No. I totally understand where you're coming from, Ralph, and I'm not going to blasé over it or dismiss it. We have work to do, and now comes the part of implementation, doing the work, strengthening the department, and protecting children. Because what happened to Genesis was a total tragedy. And
she's not alone.
No.
That's what's scary.
No, it's
She's not alone.
No, she's not. She's not.
I got about a minute left. I'll leave you with this. What is going on with the sewer rates? And you guys go after the city council and get after them, Jack. Get after them. Get after them.
We could do a whole hour. I mean, there's
I
so
know.
much going on. There's food vendors, city sewer rates. The city, as you know.
And that was a good choice on the food vendors, by the way.
Thank you. No, we're cleaning it up.
Licensing them.
We're cleaning up, and in my district on Niles Corridor, it's like a third world market. We've cleaned it up. We've shut them down. We're protecting food safety. Not only food safety, we're protecting customers and the businesses that are legitimate who go through permitting, who are not who no longer being undercut. We're protecting legitimacy of businesses.
And the suit against the city?
We're going to fight for taxpayers, try to get rate relief. We have a better plan that can still do the fixes that are needed for the infrastructure, but without raising it 900%.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Our municipal government is lacking as well, but you need not comment on that.
Well, sanctuary city, they need to
Crazy.
reprioritize.
Thank you. Well said. Yeah. Jeff Flores, everybody. Quick time out. Probably no time before we get to the bottom of the hour. It's TRBS. Don't go anywhere.
Current Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Federal appeals court ruled the New Jersey's assault weapon law barring possession of a semi-automatic rifle is unconstitutional. The first time a federal appeals court has ruled that a state's assault weapons ban violated the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment, so this could be a huge one for here in California. Things could be changing for us gun owners.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
If you're a local businessman, you take your IT seriously. There are two things that you absolutely need to do. One, you need to listen to the Ralph Bailey Show on Wednesdays at 3:30 when Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, owner-operators of Adaptive Networks, come in, basically talking to business folks on what you should be looking for, what should be alarm bells when people are coming back and thinking the same thing over and over again. And the next thing you need to do is pick up the phone and call the Van Alstynes at Adaptive Networks at 241-0638. 241-0638. As I have talked about so often, we have teamed up for almost a year with American General Media and Adaptive Networks because as a radio station, we absolutely depend on our IT. So we had to go to a team that was reliable, competent, and has the best customer service in Kern County. If you're a serious business person, call the folks at Adaptive Networks at 241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News.
I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Federal Reserve left its key interest rate unchanged Wednesday, although three officials dissented in favor of higher rates as the central bank wrestles with how to deal with persistently high inflation. The Fed's rate-setting committee reached its decision after 2 days of deliberations, marking the fifth straight meeting at which the benchmark rate was kept at around 3.6%. Bullets recovered from two bystanders killed during a shootout at a Seattle festival last weekend do not appear to have come from the gun that a 15-year-old arrested at the scene was firing, police said in court documents filed Wednesday. The King County Prosecutor's Office filed charges of first-degree assault with a firearm enhancement, as well as unlawful possession of a handgun by someone under 18. More details available at srnnews.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
If you live in the Caliente area, you should be aware that the fish fire is still burning, now 37% contained, but so far it has burned 4,200 acres, says the Kern County Fire Department. You should also be aware that the evacuation orders that were in effect have been lifted. In Lamont, 29-year-old Rodrigo Garcia has been charged with grand theft, vandalism, and possession of stolen copper wire after Kern County deputies say they caught him at Lopez Recycling and Wrecking trying to get rid of some copper wire that they say had been stolen from a farm company in Lamont. In Monterey County, 40-year-old Marcus B. is charged in the vandalism and destruction of several flock cameras and license plate readers in the Bradley and Lockwood communities. Police there say he was caught on video. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230, KERN.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his longstanding and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Ellie, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement account? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold, with me, Kenny Michaels.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to The Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
I'll be around your fingers. I'll be wrapped around your fingers.
Get some on its feet in a second. Done deal? Outstanding. Nicely done. Thank you, sir. Outstanding. Eight 8.2 KERN. What do you got on the board?
The jury court reporter were crying when they played the 911 call. We couldn't hear the tape on the television. They blocked it from the broadcast.
Yeah, that's what Lisa was telling me. She's been following this from head to toe. That's why she, excuse me, knows more about it than I do. I'm just watching excerpts from the Today Show and some of the news reports. I didn't get to see the actual trial. I would love to be able to just sit in the morning and watch a trial. There are other things going on that I've got to acquire for the program. And we played some of the testimony from the dad earlier in the show. We can play that for you again. Here is Patrick Clancy in examination by his attorney when he first encountered his wife after she had killed their 3 children.
Say anything to her in that state.
Start again. Start again.
Did you say anything to Lindsay when you found her in that state?
Yeah, I said, what happened?
And what was her response?
She said I tried to kill myself.
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, where are the kids?
And what was her response?
She said they're in the basement.
And that's where he found them, with an exercise rope of some sort tied around their neck. He described that in examination as well.
When you saw her in that condition, what did you do?
I immediately ran over and tried to take the band off.
Were you able to get the band off?
Yeah,
And do you recall how you got the band off?
I think I untied it.
And when you say untied it, was it in a knot that you had to, put everything down and unknot it, or how was it tied?
I'm not sure I fully remember.
Do you recall describing it previously as when you initially tie your shoes but then don't do the bow?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So in other words, she took the piece of exercise rope or whatever the hell it was and just snuffed out their life, and then tied a knot and just pulled it tight and took their lives. 5, 3, and 8 months old. And I've been wrestling with, and I know most of you probably don't agree, what do you do with this woman? How can anyone claim that that's sane? I'm not trying to be soft on this woman. I hope she burns in hell. I hope Dante was right, and there's a special section of hell for people like this. But it just, I don't know. Maybe I am just too soft, but I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. What else you got?
The ACLU won a lawsuit in the 80s that says it's unconstitutional to lock up insane people, even though that's what is best for them. God made us, but Satan showed us the difference between good and evil. So it's Satan that gets people screwed up enough to kill their own kids.
It's Satan. I don't mean to make fun, but come on. Obviously, everything that's evil emerges from Satan if you truly believe in God. I've always said that about religion. We're so much believers in God, but we rarely talk about the devil and his presence unless you're truly religious, and pastors talk about it. But amongst us, we don't really talk about the existence of the devil and the devil getting inside somebody. We talk about the imbuement of the Lord, but do we really ever talk about Satan taking over? I don't know. All I know is that we're in a mental health pandemic, and that we've got to go back to state hospitals, and we've got to. I heard one woman on the Today Show say that once a woman is, because their defense is for Lindsay Clancy is that she had postpartum psychosis, which is different than postpartum depression. And the expert on the Today Show said, as soon as someone is showing signs of postpartum psychosis, you need to get them in a hospital because they are a threat and a danger. And from what I understand, the husband knew about her mental illness when they got married. I'll have to check with Lisa, our expert on this, whether that's accurate or not, because I haven't followed it as closely as she has. But I do believe I heard that. But I mean, the only thing they're going to do, and I don't know if there's the death penalty in the state, but it'll be interesting to watch and see how this thing unfolds, as tragic as it is. What else?
Ralph, this needs to be said. I understand where you are coming from with your observations about this war with Iran. I understand you don't know the first thing about what Donald Trump is doing or what the military is doing. So I won't try to reason with you. Your conclusion is just wrong when you say there isn't a plan for this war. You forget Donald Trump doesn't want to bomb Iran off the map. He wants to get a deal. He wrote a book, after all. Remember? It's called The Art of the Deal.
And you believe that we can enter into a deal with Iran and the IRGC. Is that what you're telling me? That you think that we can sit down and sign a piece of paper and that the Iranians will end their endless pursuit of nuclear weapons? That's what you're telling me? And you're the expert? What happened to that MOU we signed? It was worthless. They signed it and didn't abide by anything on that piece of paper. You truly believe that we can negotiate with the Iranians? The time isn't on their side. That the closer and closer we get to November, the further and further the Republican Party is going down the drain. You don't see that. You think that if this continues and it's Halloween and we're still bombing and they're still bombing, that Republicans will come out victorious, will hit the House and the Senate. That's what you believe? Because at the end of the day, this is still all politics. It's war and politics. And as I've tried to explain, no president wants war during their administration. It manipulates everything they do. Well, not for Donald Trump. And the last thing that a president wants is an unpopular war. Can we at least agree to that? That damn near 70% of the American public, certainly outside of Kern County, clearly, but 70% of this nation thinks this is a bad war. And then your assertion that there's a plan? That you think that there is a plan? Well, I'm a fairly smart guy. Explain to me what the plan is. Because it seems to me we're reacting to whatever the Iranians do. And we're sending smoke signals and Morse code to tell the world what we intend to do. Because now I do believe that a large hit is imminent. I've been saying that he's not going to do it. But apparently, he said today, we're going to beat the effing S out of them. We'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating. You're right. You can't convince me that this is going well. You can't convince me that we're in a good position. You can't convince me that the Strait of Hormuz is open and that business as usual is going on, that gas prices isn't going up, that inflation isn't going up, and that the closer we get to November, the least opportunity we have to win the House and the Senate. And what do you think they're going to do when they get the House and the Senate, they being Democrats? That's about as ridiculous a text message as I've ever heard. That you know some plan that the president has. What's your source? Where are you getting this information? You have some secret knowledge that the rest of us don't have? Because please, I'm absolutely curious. What is the plan? Because doesn't he read it one more time, Chris?
It says, Ralph, this needs to be said. I understand where you are coming from with your observations about this war with Iran. I understand you don't know the first thing about what Donald Trump is doing or what the military is doing.
But you do. But you do. Right? You know what Donald Trump and the military is doing, right? Okay. All right. Sure you do. What else is he saying?
So I won't try to reason with you.
Please don't. Please
your
don't.
conclusion is just wrong when you say that there isn't a plan for this war. You forget Donald Trump doesn't want to bomb Iran off the map. He wants to get a deal. He wrote a book, after all. Remember, it's called The Art of the Deal.
Well, see, here's where I got the impression that Donald Trump did want to blow them off the map. It's when Donald Trump said, I'm going to blow them off the map. Funny how I interpreted that. Unconditional surrender, does that ring a bell? Blow them off the face of the earth, does that ring a bell? You make it sound that I'm making up these assertions that I made somewhere in my downtown pad. I'm quoting the president. It's funny how you Trumpsters forget what he says. The phrase unconditional surrender doesn't jog your memory at all. And if we haven't gotten them to wave the white flag now, you really think that more bombing while our ammunition level is dumping and Xi is eyeballing Taiwan, and now the whole world knows that our ammunition level is dropping as we're gearing up to continue the war? I was absolutely in favor of somebody after 47 years doing something about the Iranians. Certainly not this. And sir or madam, I'm sorry, maybe here in Kern County you're in the majority, but in North America, in the United States of America, you are in the minority. It's 65 to 70% of Americans think this thing is out of control. And now Saudi Arabia is getting involved, which may be a good thing, may be a bad thing. As I said at the top of the show, normally when you say escalation of a war, that's a bad thing. Because then God knows what's going to happen. But perhaps this escalation will help because the Iranians have made enemies and allies for us out of those Gulf states. But for anyone to say that this is going well, that there is an orchestrated plan, what war have you been watching? They're begging to make a deal. They don't want to make a deal. We're dealing with smart people. We're dealing with a new group of people. Are you kidding me? Plan? And why can't you articulate it? If it's so obvious that some knucklehead that listens to this idiot knows what the plan is, well, share it with us, please. I'm eager to hear it. What is victory? Explain that to me. What is victory? I don't want to know the plan. You keep that secret to yourself, genius. But just explain to me, what is victory? Is it what the president said, unconditional surrender? Is it what the president said, we're going to go in and get the uranium, we're going to get the dust? Is what the president said lately that we're going after Pickaxe Mountain? Or is it what he said a couple of weeks ago that we're going to go after Clark Island? Which one is it? What is victory? All I'm saying is, let's just get the hell out. Let's just get the hell out. Because let me tell you something. If that was your 19-year-old daughter who a year ago was in high school and she's coming back in a box, I bet you'd have a different perspective. I'm pretty sure you would. But as long as it's not your grandchildren or your children, what the hell? It's just war. Let's go. Let's go. Let's have boots on the ground. Because let me tell you something. That's the next phase. That's the next reality. I'll play the audio for you for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs who said, air power is limited, meaning we cannot get them to wave the white flag from 35,000 feet. It's not going to happen. It's never happened in the history of war. There was this thing called, what was it called? Starts with a V. Oh, Vietnam. Lyndon Johnson tried it. How'd that work out for him? I'm willing to argue the merits of the war, and I'm willing to accept people that disagree with me. But for anyone to say that there's a plan and that Trump is the art of the deal and he's handling this masterfully, that is laughable. That is absolutely laughable. If the MOU isn't enough proof, and this idea that we're going to sit down and believe anything that comes out of the pie holes of the IRGC, really? Wow. All I can say is thank God you are not the president. Thank God you're just some knucklehead that listens to an idiot radio talk show host. Let's go. Good God Almighty. We're going to negotiate with the Iranians. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, all right. Because they always tell the truth. They're honest as the day is long. And the IRGC, they're not really, what would you call them? Zealots? Religious zealots that wants to see America die and Israel wiped off the face of the earth? Yeah, we can probably do business with them. You know, Neville Chamberlain said something like that in history. We can do business with him. His name was Adolf Hitler. He'd never take Poland. We can negotiate. He's not going to take Czechoslovakia. We can negotiate with the IRGC. Well, get back to me later this year and tell me how that worked out. Shall you? And again, it's still politics. We still have to win elections. And the closer and closer we get to November and bombs are still flying through the air, the Republican Party is about to be devastated. And it may not mean anything to you, but it certainly means something to me when they get in control, they being Democrats and democratic socialists, and try to change the face of this country. Final timeout of the day. Am I on vacation tomorrow?
Not quite.
When does it start?
Monday. Well, technically after Friday.
Friday at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock Friday.
I don't have to come back.
No.
I got a whole week.
Your whole week.
I can do whatever I want.
Whenever you want.
I don't have to argue with anybody.
No.
I don't have to talk about the war.
Now, if they hit you up on Facebook, I can't save you, but no.
Keep it locked. Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. Tomorrow's a Thursday. I believe Mr. Turnip Seed's in studio, although if I were him, I wouldn't be. I'd be at the coast still. We'll see. And then our money man, Daniel Petrie. All that plus me at 3. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look.
You ready? 3, 2. So a listener texted in and said that I just don't understand Donald Trump's plan with the Iranian war. Well, what is the plan? Break it down to me. Is it to completely destroy them? Complete unconditional surrender? What does victory look like? The MOU was worthless. The 60-day peace. 3, 2. So a listener texted in and said, I just don't understand Donald Trump's plan. He's the art of the deal. Do you truly believe that this thing was planned? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And finally, if there is a plan, then what is victory? Is it getting the uranium? Is it just completely destroying? Or we're going to negotiate with the IRGC like a caller intimated? We're going to negotiate with the Iranians. Yeah, tell me how that goes for you. Tell me how that goes for you. Sorry about that. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Thursday TRBS. Well, it's a Thursday. Mike Turnipseed may or may not be live in studio, but nevertheless, we'll talk with him. And our money man, Daniel Petrie. All that plus me at 3, and the latest on local news as well. It's the Ralph Bailey Show, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. I'll see you at 3.
.com to get started.
Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through LPL Financial. LPL Financial and Moneywise Wealth Management are independently owned and operated.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is adults against invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study.
Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist. I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Flores tonight. Just relax. It's about to get up on its feet. It's about to get up on its feet. Gotta be patient. Johnny. Me to die. So let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance tonight. Oh, tonight. Come on, Donna. Tonight. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, yeah. Yes, it's the last dance. Oh, the late, beautiful Donna Summers. God, I had a crush on her. She may have been the reason that I have a type, because she was a very tall, very attractive black woman, and I am very attracted to tall women, 5'8" and above. I don't mind being shorter than my girlfriend. I dated two volleyball players. One was a setter, and she had the biggest booty you ever saw in your life. The funny thing about Jennifer, I'm not going to name her name, but I probably told this before, but I went to her. She lived in Thousand Oaks. We dated for 2 years. That's about as far as they could put up with me. And so, in 2 years, that's a nice little stint. In 2 years, you're going to meet the family. If you dated a girl for like a year and a half, at some point you got to meet the family. And so I meet the family, and it was like a Saturday Night Live skit. Because she had the biggest booty I ever saw in my life, particularly for a white girl. Sorry, call me whatever. I mean, just like you could set a drink on Jennifer's butt. It was just crazy. And I just assumed it was because she was a setter and she squatted all the time. So I get to her house. Not only does the brother have a booty, the mama's got a booty, but this is the Saturday Night Live skit. The daddy had a booty. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now how both sides of the family got these, and I don't mean like a butt, like you gotta look at it like, damn, that dude's got that can't be real. Like they all had Cardi B butts, to put it in, relative understanding. How I get into these topics, I have no idea. Better than ending arguing about the war, I suppose. Well, I got 2 more days before I vacation, and I can tell you this one thing. I ain't talking about the war for the next 48 hours. Just not. My blood pressure is probably out the roof right now. Want to thank Jeff Flores for joining us today, along with all of you. For Chris, I'm Ralph. That's what's really going on. We'll have to tomorrow.
Current Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Peters in Washington. The deadline passes for the Trump administration to ask the Supreme Court to reconsider its ruling on birthright citizenship.
The Trump administration had until Tuesday to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to reconsider its June decision, which struck down President Donald Trump's executive order to deny automatic citizenship to children born in the U.S. whose parents are in the country temporarily or illegally. Trump had promised to push for a rehearing shortly after the High Court handed him his loss. The White House has not responded to messages seeking comment. Donna Warder, Washington.
At the Columbia, South Carolina funeral for